welcome to the mysterious Hoia Baciu forest. This week I have a real treat for you all with the topic of today's video. I must admit that I honestly wasn't aware of this forest up until a few weeks ago, and personally feel terrible about it, being as how it is full of paranormal encounters. Although I must say that I was aware of a few aspects, but never really knew where it was. My avid viewers may have come to expect this topic since I briefly mentioned it in a previous video on cursed objects. However, that entry didn't quite do it justice and I knew it needed its own video, so here we are today. Let's get into this video without further delay. Romania is a beautiful location with many fantastic sights and quite a lush history, with none being as famous as the ruler known as Vlad III or Vlad Tepes, or even Vlad the Impaler. This well-known historical figure is considered by most to be the inspiration behind the legend of Dracula, especially when considering he called himself Vlad Dracula. Outside of any inferred similarities, the name had nothing to do with an undead bloodsucker, and more was the term used to state that he was the son of Dracul, which was given to his father, Vlad II, or Vlad Dracul. I won't focus on this too much since I covered his whole history in a previous video in which I attempted to debunk many of the current day beliefs and myths about him. Anyway, Transylvania. Yes, that's where I was going with this. While many locations around Romania are considered to have many forms of paranormal activity, none are said to be as active as the areas surrounding Transylvania. With this comes the Hoia Baciu forest, which is located west of Cluj-Napoca city near Transylvania. The forest itself is home to many types of tree species, such as beech, ash, elm, and hornbeam, and it is roughly 3 square kilometers or 741 acres in area. Outside of this, it is also home to many supposed odd encounters that range in all areas of the paranormal spectrum. One of the most prevalent stories that is told about the forest is that it was named after a sheep herder who entered the trees along with his flock of over 200 sheep and vanished without a trace. Even after a search party was formed, nothing was ever found, including a single one of his sheep. Reportedly, the name Baci translates to shepherd, which it does, but when I looked up Baciu, it simply comes back as Baciu. On a side note, I looked up the translation for Hoia and came up empty-handed, other than in Estonia it stands for hold. So does this mean it is actually named Hold Shepherd Forest? I'm unsure, but it would make sense if thought of as the forest was holding the shepherd. That honestly makes it quite creepy to think about. This isn't the only case though, as many people have been said to have gone missing while entering the forest, and again, nothing was ever found of them. A similar case that is frequently mentioned is that of an unnamed girl who was 5 years old who wandered into the forest and vanished without trace. Unlike most other reports, she is said to have emerged from the woods 5 years later wearing the same clothes, had no memory of the lost time, and some even say had a darker air to her personality. While it seems disappearances are rare anymore, there are still some who claim that while visiting the area, hours of their trip are missing from their memories. Many of those stories are reported with other mysterious physical effects being present, but I'll get to that shortly. All of these stories have led to the forest being nicknamed as the Bermuda Triangle of Romania, especially when factoring over 1,000 people have vanished within its perimeters. If people disappearing weren't enough, the area is claimed to be home to many forms of spirits, both good and malicious, as well as shadow people. Some of the ghosts seen are said to be those of peasants who had been murdered and are now back to exact their revenge, since they are trapped in the forest. These spirits are normally seen as shadow people or as a black mist with bright green eyes. Other reports of spirits include the sight of disembodied heads flying around, and more famously, the sound of a woman talking or giggling when no one else is around. Many people have claimed to see the faces of the dead in the trees. Tying in with the strange noises, it seems that forest allows people to hear things that they are familiar with. Alexandru Petrut, who is the president of the Romanian Society of Parapsychology, claimed that while he was visiting the forest, he kept hearing the sounds of ambulance sirens, exploding tires, and even cuckoo clocks. Due to there being similar stories of disembodied sounds found in other areas around the world, I have to wonder if the noises are being used to lure people further into the forest. In some legends, if a person were to enter with murderous thoughts, the forest would twist and turn in various forms and finally exact its form of punishment on the person. One of the most strangest of experiences that people have relayed is that of physical representations of harm being done to them. This normally comes in the way of strange burn marks or even scratches on their skin, which occur when they enter areas of claimed higher energy. Along with this, people claim to suddenly have severe headaches, panic attacks, nausea, and an increased sense of extreme thirst. It also has been noted that many people feel the sense that they are being watched by something, even when they are just walking by the perimeter of the forest. There are a few people who believe that these ailments are being brought about by the spirit form of poltergeists, or even in some cases, the jinn are blamed. With all of these negative sightings, I must mention that an entity does exist in the forest that is simply known as guardian angels. I really couldn't find why they are called as such, but I did learn that they normally can't be seen with the naked eye, but only appear in photographs around visitors. A familiar story about another entity involves a military unit that was driving through the area. On the way past the forest, they saw an old man walking along the road using his cane to guide himself. The officers stopped and asked if he was okay, to which he said he was, and the men offered him a ride. When they turned around to talk to the old man in the back seat, he vanished in a plume of smoke. I know, this story is very similar to the ghostly hitchhiker, but I figured I would include it since it is reported in this area as well. Of course, there are claims that the incident is in military reports, but good luck finding them. If the vanishing people, dark twisting evil trees, and spirit activity weren't enough, there also is a real strange clearing near the center of the forest where no trees grow. This place is called Hoia Rotunda or Round Glade. In this spot, it is said to be home to electromagnetic fields that render electronic devices inoperable or drain their batteries. I also must mention that it is claimed to be a hotspot for spirit activity as well. Some have even gone as far as saying it is a portal to other dimensions or spirit realms. Many of the disappearances reported, as well as those claims of losing time, are said to be the results of this portal. Famously, one of Josh Gates' crew members were thrown from his sitting position while investigating the glade when they were filming an episode of Destination Truth. In that situation, the crew member mentioned he heard a woman's voice behind him before being thrown. On a later visit, the same person was attacked by an unknown entity, to which it was shown to cause him to bleed from his ears. I personally enjoy Destination Truth and have no ill regards towards Josh Gates, but when it comes to reality TV, I try to be a bit skeptical about anything presented. This is why another group of investigators who explored the same area and their outlandish host claimed to be attacked will not be mentioned here by name. Some of you may know who I'm talking about, and know that their antics aren't good for anyone in the paranormal field. The final event on our journey through this crazy forest finds us confronting another form in the odd folder, which is UFOs. For years, people claimed to see orbs of red or orange light appear amongst the trees, only to vanish as quickly as they appeared. However, in 1968, a biologist by the name of Alexandru Sift was investigating the strange phenomenon in the forest when he took this photo. Not long afterwards, on August 18, 1968, a military technician by the name of Emile Barnier was standing in the center of the Round Glade when he captured this image of a UFO. As far as I know, it has never been debunked, and it looks quite intriguing. Since that time, there have been multiple sightings of strange craft hovering over the tree lines. In 2002, two residents at a nearby apartment captured a 27-second video of a 50-meter or 164-foot long cigar-shaped craft hovering over the forest. As mentioned previously, portals are said to cause disappearances, but as you probably already figured, the UFO activity is also blamed for people suddenly coming up missing. As usual, I love being able to make videos where I can possibly dispel information about topics that I cover. This location is no different. With this, I found something odd while doing some internet research on the topic. Every time I looked up images of the Hoia Baciu forest, I kept finding this. After doing some other searches, I found many images showing the same forest, but at the same time, they all felt similar. The reason I mention this is even sites showing this image had nothing about these strange trees in their articles, but did show multiple images of normal trees. The images that everyone shows of these wildly bending trees are from the forest in Poland known as the Crooked Forest, or properly as Hoia Baciu, which is about 15 driving hours away from the Hoia Baciu forest. I understand that some of the trees in the Romanian forest do bend in odd ways, but I think that many of these images from Poland are being used for shock or interest value only. This is where I need some of my friends from Romania to help us out. Am I wrong with this assumption, and trees do grow like this as well? Or is it simply a trick to draw people into reading an article that has nothing to do with the image? Sort of like a clickbait system. Even the area's own official site uses the images of the Polish trees, but on the photo gallery, you will not find a single image of those trees. So after all that, I'm curious how many of you are planning on booking a flight to visit this forest. I honestly would be greatly interested in seeing what was going on there, but if I can't find enough time to keep up with the video schedule, I don't see how I'll find enough time to travel to Romania. Not only this, but being as how my wife and I are sensitive to spirits, I think the experience may not be as relaxing as we might want it to be. Before closing this video out, I wanted to bounce an idea off of all of you. As of late, it has become painfully obvious that until I get some time off of work, my upload schedules are going to be somewhat erratic. I can't say how much this bothers me, and I always apologize for it. However, it seems to happen. Happily, many of you have conveyed your support of my content and channel, regardless of how hectic I become. I greatly appreciate this, but it always seems like when I'm confident I can keep up with everything, life changes things for me. Last week I was sure I would be able to post something due to it being a long weekend, but suddenly my time became tied up with working on our house. Even as I make this video, I'm unsure if I'll be able to get it uploaded in time, since right now I'm sitting amongst clutter while our living room and hallway are being painted. Anyway, every time I get to the point during the night when I realize I won't be able to finish, I consider doing a live stream. So after all that long-winded conjecture, I want to know if you'd be interested in some impromptu live streams in lieu of content during the weekends that I know I won't be able to post anything. If you haven't yet done so, please consider subscribing to my channel for similar content to this, and if you would, could you share my videos with others who may be interested in this type of genre. With that, be safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.